Healdsburg might be the most charming town in Sonoma County. It is certainly home to some incredible Michelin star restaurants, amazing world-class wineries, and also it has a beautiful downtown that has a very walkable vibe and is centered around a picturesque town square. But it isn't always the wine country dream that people chalk it up to be. And so today I'll be going into the pros and the cons of living in Healdsburg, California. And hopefully this video will help you decide if this town in beautiful Sonoma County is where you should land for your next chapter. My name is Stephanie Johnson. I'm a real estate agent. I've been one for more than 20 years, and I made the move from the Bay Area into Sonoma County in 2021. And now I've made it my mission to help people just like you who are thinking about making a big move, maybe from somewhere more urban into Sonoma County for a little bit slower life. And I'd like to help you figure out how to do that and where you should land. So let's get started. So the first real pro of living in Healdsburg, especially if you live in town and not in the outskirts, is that it is an incredibly walkable town with a lot of amenities that are all really in close proximity. The downtown itself is centered around a town square, which is gorgeous. And the whole square is lined with shops that include boutiques and art galleries, coffee shops, restaurants, music venues, rooftop bars, tasting rooms, you name it. I mean, within just a few block radius, there is a lot to do and a lot of variety in terms of what your interests might be. And so I think if you want a walkable neighborhood, you want to maintain that energy, especially if you're leaving a place where you are used to that, like if you live in the city or you live in another place where you can really walk to get a lot of your needs met. I think Healdsburg, unlike a lot of other towns in Sonoma County, really checks this box. You know, Healdsburg was just named the friendliest small town in America by World Atlas, and I actually understand why. Healdsburg's a pretty small town. It's under 12,000 people that live in Healdsburg, but it is chock full of a number of amenities and businesses that all cater to tourism. And of course, you know, if you're catering to the tourists, then of course you're going to be friendly. Of course you're going to be welcoming, because that's the bread and butter of the industry in Healdsburg, is the tourism industry, especially the wine tourism industry. And so I think that moniker is probably well earned. If you live in Healdsburg, you are adjacent to all the tourism, and so you get the benefit of sort of, you know, the town really rising up to welcome the stranger. I also think Healdsburg feels a little bit like a small European town because it is centered around this town square, which there's only a couple of towns in Sonoma County, Sonoma being the other one, that has this town square energy. And every time I'm in Healdsburg, it feels really nice. It feels like the whole town can converge in that little square. They do have musical events and they have a farmer's market during the summer months. And so it really is a place where people congregate. And I think it's a nice hub that allows the town to come together on the regular. And that's the vibe you might feel when you visit a small town or a village in Europe, is there's always an open air market and there's always some kind of music or something happening outside for people to congregate and socialize. So I understand why Healdsburg was named the friendliest town in America. Pro number 2 of living in Healdsburg has to be, hands down, the amazing world-class dining options that exist in this town of just shy of 12,000 people. I mean, if you think about how many restaurants exist in Healdsburg for the number of people, it's actually kind of astonishing and overwhelming. First, there's Single Thread, which a lot of people know about. This is a restaurant that was awarded 3 Michelin stars. It's one of only 5 restaurants in America to receive that recognition. And it's a really special, obviously really expensive experience that not everybody has access to. But the cool thing is some people who worked at Single Thread opened another restaurant called Troubadour, which is a beautiful French restaurant, also in Healdsburg. And they opened a bakery that the New York Times called one of the best bakeries in America. It's called Quail and Condor, and it's near the square in Healdsburg as well, and it has just gone through a big renovation, so it has a big expanded space, whereas before it used to be just a small little storefront. So if you want to taste a little bit of that Single Thread energy, but you don't want to break the bank to go to Single Thread, you have other options in town to get a taste of what the world-class dining scene in Healdsburg's all about. In addition to those restaurants, there's also Charlie Palmer's Dry Creek Kitchen, which is a mainstay right on the town square. It's a beautiful restaurant with a gorgeous interior, a beautiful menu. It's a really special experience and great for a special occasion. And there are also other mainstays in Healdsburg, like Willie's Seafood, which has been around for a while, obviously focuses on seafood with their menu and the bounty that is the Sonoma coast. There's Bravas, which is a Spanish tapas bar, which has got a fun vibe. It's got a beautiful outdoor patio. I like to go there in the summer and have a drink and some tapas. It's great for groups and it's just a lot of fun. There's also Cousteau Bakery, which has been around for a long time. That's also just a block off the square. It's a great bakery. That's a destination that's been in Healdsburg for a long time. And it's also got a lot of packaged baked items that you can buy to take away. I could go on, but suffice to say, Healdsburg offers a ton of options, and I find myself in Healdsburg on the regular having dinner just because it's such a special destination. Obviously, part of the food scene is the fact that it's always paired with a delicious glass of wine. And Healdsburg sits right in the center of 3 different AVAs, the Alexander Valley AVA, the Russian River AVA, and the Dry Creek AVA. And all of those areas produce world-class wines. Every restaurant you go to in Healdsburg and in the surrounding towns in Sonoma County will be serving wines from all of these wineries, and so you will not miss your opportunity to try wineries if you head to the restaurants. And if you just want to focus on tasting, you can certainly do that without even getting in the car, because in Healdsburg there are a number of tasting rooms right around the town square, on the side streets, all within walking distance. You can have a wine country experience by foot right in town. Pro number 3 of living in Healdsburg is, come on, you're in wine country. It's gorgeous here, and you have access to this beautiful wine region. But even if you don't want to go have a full meal, you just want to do some tasting, you can certainly do that by car. You can do that with a car service if everyone in your party wants to drink. You can also even do it by bicycle. There are lots of organizations that you can sign up for. You can just grab a bicycle and ride around and do a tasting and get exercise at the same time. These regions are gorgeous. Driving through these regions, I mean, you really see the beauty and the bounty that is Northern California. Rolling hills, vineyard views. I mean, it's pretty stunning. I think the Dry Creek Valley is one of the most gorgeous set of roads we have in Sonoma County. And I think it's just, this whole area is really unmatched in terms of quality of wines that are produced and the lifestyle that you get to have adjacent to it. Obviously, the more money you have to buy in Healdsburg, the better, because Healdsburg gets really expensive. Some of these wine country estates that are so gorgeous and sprawling come at a very high price tag. But if you have the money to spend, you get access to the best of Healdsburg wineries, food, lifestyle, you name it, Healdsburg has something for you. Pro number 4 of living in Healdsburg is this is just a really polished and beautiful small town. I mean, if you travel a lot through Northern California, you visit a lot of small towns, they don't all have that much panache or polish. A lot of times there's empty storefronts lining the downtown because businesses can't survive. Not in Healdsburg. In Healdsburg, it's very robust. It's very vibrant. The downtown always has people walking around. It doesn't feel empty. It doesn't feel like the big box stores have emptied out this town. I mean, one of the benefits of living in a small town where there's a lot of wealth that's concentrated is the amenities are there. They haven't been stripped from the town, and you really feel it when you're walking through downtown. It's also very clean. It's well maintained. I mean, this is a tourist destination. It's one of the biggest tourist destinations in our county. And, you know, it feels like that. It feels like the town is really focused on keeping people interested in coming and spending time and spending their money in Healdsburg. And so you as a resident will really benefit from that. It feels very safe. It feels very welcoming. I said earlier that it was named the friendliest town in America, and I think a lot of these aspects that I'm talking about, just the cleanliness, the vibrancy, and the focus on tourism contribute to that energy, and I think you'll really enjoy it if you end up in Healdsburg as a full-time resident or even as a second homeowner. Pro number 5 is really just that it's a good base for exploring the rest of Northern California. I mean, Healdsburg's an hour and a half about from San Francisco without traffic. Of course, I mean, traffic's always a factor. It is farther from the Bay Area than some of the other towns in Sonoma County, but the destination itself is actually worth it for a lot of people because it's such a special little town. And you're really close. You're an hour from the Sonoma coast. You can get into Mendocino County and into the sort of real wilderness of Mendocino County quickly. It's like 35 minutes to Calistoga. It's maybe an hour into this town of Sonoma and that wine region if you really like to wine taste and you want to be able to visit that area as well. You know, and so you're really well positioned to get around and have a lot of different experiences and use Healdsburg as your home base. All right, so maybe now you're like ready to pack your bags. You want to move to Healdsburg tomorrow. I can certainly help you do that if that's something that you want to do. But before you do, let's get into some of the cons as I see them for living in Healdsburg. And the first one is just that it's very expensive. I mean, Healdsburg, the cost of living is some of the highest cost of living in Sonoma County. The median prices is not very reflective of just how expensive it can get in Healdsburg. Currently, the median price for the last couple of months was hovering just under $1.3 million. But in reality, Healdsburg can get way more expensive very quickly. And in fact, it's not uncommon to see homes listed in the $5 to $10 million range in Healdsburg. And so it's a small town, there's not a lot of inventory, and when there is, a lot of times it's actually quite pricey. And so, if you're looking in that medium price range, you're probably gonna have to take your time and really look for something. It probably won't be in town. If you're looking for something that is kind of remotely move-in ready, you're probably going to be looking on the outskirts of Healdsburg if you're looking in that medium price range. If you want to live in town in a more renovated home, you're certainly going to be spending a lot more than median price just to get your foot in the door. So Healdsburg is gorgeous, but the cost of living is very high. Con number 2 about living in Healdsburg is sort of the flip side of tourism, which is that it's a busy small town. Especially during the summer months, there are a lot of people that visit Healdsburg, and so you're going to be competing for resources like dinner reservations and parking spaces, etc. I mean, when the tourism season is on, it's full on in Healdsburg. And so if you're someone who does not like crowds, you don't want to deal with tourists, and you really want to have more of a just sort of a normal life that doesn't really involve maybe the Disneyland vibe of the wine region, then you may not want to live right in Healdsburg proper. You may want to sort of look and live on the outskirts, or maybe even choose another area of Sonoma County. Especially during summer and during harvest, there are a lot of events that bring a lot of people to town. Everything from music festivals to culinary weekends, you name it. Healdsburg is really making the most of its tourism industry, and you will have to deal with it if you live there. Con number 3 might not be a con for you depending on the kind of weather you like, but boy, especially in the dead of summer, Healdsburg can be very hot. If you're thinking you want to leave, an area and you want to come into wine country and you want to have like hot summer, you want to need that air conditioning, you want to live by the pool or by the lake, you really want that heat in the summer, then Healdsburg is definitely a place you should look because it gets real hot. 80s are every day, and we're in the 90s and 100s in Healdsburg during the summer months often. And so you want to come really prepared for heat. If you're really someone who's not looking forward to being in that kind of heat and you want a more mild summer, you want sun, you want a summer, but you don't want to be dealing with 100-degree days, then you probably should be looking more in Western Sonoma County, where you can still have a wine country experience like in Grayton or in Forestville or even in Sebastopol, but you're not dealing with those hot days. And so you want to really think about it. What kind of weather do you really want to be experiencing in the summer? And then choose your destination wisely. Also, the flip side of that is in the winter, if you're a gardener, Healdsburg is going to get a lot of frosty weather. You're going to be dealing with a lot more freezing nights, and you're going to be covering plants. You're going to be dealing with a lot more scraping off the windshield if you leave your car outside. I mean, it's definitely more of a winter experience. And so the temperature throughout the year is more extreme than it is the closer you get to the ocean. Because of the summer heat, con number 4 is the increase in fire risk in this area. California just released its new fire maps. And if you look in the areas in Healdsburg and surrounding Healdsburg, those areas are all moderate to high fire risk. Whereas if you look in other areas of the county, you'll see that it's low to moderate fire risk. And so because it gets really hot in the summer, all the grasslands and the soil get really dry. It's just a very different climate. You're going to have a lot more fire risk, which means you're going to have to consider that in terms of insuring your property. There are some areas of Healdsburg where it's going to be still pretty hard to get an insurance policy from just your standard company. You might even have to go with the FAIR plan in some areas in Healdsburg. And you want to think about defensible space around your property. You can't just sort of willy-nilly let things grow against your structure. In Healdsburg, because of the higher fire risk, you definitely want to have a defensible space cleared. You want to think about that when you're buying up here because that will mitigate some of that fire risk for your structures. And you want to think about an evacuation plan because if you live on a vineyard property or you live in a rural property adjacent to Healdsburg and you are in a higher fire area, you want to have a plan to get out and get to safety easily. Con number 5 about living in Healdsburg is the whole industry in Healdsburg is really tipped very heavily toward tourism. And so there isn't a lot of other options in terms of job market. If you have the need to have a robust job market, if you want to live in Healdsburg, you're probably going to be driving into another part of Sonoma County like Santa Rosa where there's a lot more industry, or you're going to have to make your peace with the fact that your job opportunities may be in the hospitality or restaurant industry, or you might have to own a small business in Healdsburg in order to make a decent living. A lot of people who come to Healdsburg obviously are buying second homes. It's not their primary residence. vacations. They might live in another part of California where they actually work, and this is a place they come to relax. People who are living in Healdsburg full-time also do a lot of remote work, and we are seeing more people who do either 100% remote work or a high percentage of their time is done remotely at work so that they can spend their time in a place like Healdsburg. And so it's not that there isn't a job market, there certainly is, but it does center around tourism and hospitality. And if that's not your jam and you aren't independently wealthy or have a remote job, it might be hard for you to make a living in Healdsburg. So I really hope you enjoyed my video on the pros and cons of living in Healdsburg, California. And I hope it helped you discern whether Healdsburg is a place you want to investigate further, or if you should turn your attention to other areas of our beautiful county for your next chapter. As always, I'm here to help you. My name is Stephanie Johnson. You're welcome to reach out to me. My contact information is on this page in a couple of locations. Book a call with me, shoot me an email. Let me know what your goals are, because I'd love to be your guide and help you make your move to Sonoma County a smooth and beautiful one. Also, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you're notified every time we drop a video, because I will be making videos every week on life and real estate all over Sonoma County. And if you're thinking about moving this way, it could become a great resource to you to educate you and help you figure out where you should land and how to get here. Until the next one, bye for now.